Somewhere on this planet, tens of thousands of years ago, one person opened their mouth and said something that wasn't true. We will never know who they were. We will never know what they said. We don't even know exactly when it happened. But we know it changed everything. Before that moment, in some form, the basic contract of all animal communication had existed for hundreds of millions of years. A signal meant what it meant. A warning cry meant danger. A mating call meant readiness. A growl meant threat. There were no false alarms. There were no scams. There were no betrayals. And then, one human discovered that the sounds coming out of their mouth could be used for something else. It was the most important moment in the history of human thought, and it required a brain doing something no brain had ever done before. Let's start with what lying actually is. A lie is not just saying something untrue. A parrot can repeat a wrong word. A child can confuse a real memory with a dream. Those aren't lies. A real lie requires three things, all happening at once. You must know the truth. You must know that someone else doesn't know the truth. And you must deliberately put a false version of reality into their head so that they act on something that isn't real. That third part is the impossible part. It requires you to model another person's mind from the inside. To run, in your own brain, a simulation of what they currently believe and what they would believe if you told them this instead. It requires you to hold two different versions of the world in your head at the same time, yours and the one you want them to live in, and switch between them without confusing yourself. Psychologists call this theory of mind, and it is one of the rarest mental abilities in the natural world. In 1978, primatologists David Premack and Guy Woodruff first asked the question that has obsessed the field ever since. Does a chimpanzee understand that another chimpanzee has thoughts, beliefs, knowledge that differs from its own? The answer turned out to be a little. Only a little. Primatologists have documented genuine deception in chimpanzees, gorillas, and ravens. A chimp pretending it hasn't found food, leading rivals away from a stash. A raven faking a hiding place to fool a watching competitor. These are real cases of deliberate misdirection. But they are not language. They are not detailed lies. No animal we know of has ever said, with words, an elaborate, untrue story about something that never happened. Only humans do that. And we developed the ability long before we left any record we can dig up. In the 1980s, primatologists Richard Byrne and Andrew Whiten at the University of St. Andrews proposed what is now known as the Machiavellian intelligence hypothesis. Their argument: human brains grew so large, so fast, not because we needed to use tools or hunt prey, but because we needed to outthink each other. Living in groups means living among rivals. The biggest threat to a smart social animal is another smart social animal. The brain that could best read, manipulate, and deceive other minds was the brain that survived, mated, and reproduced. In other words, a major reason your brain is the size it is so you can lie, and so you can detect lies, and so you can lie about the lies you've detected. This arms race may have lasted hundreds of thousands of years. Each new layer of suspicion required a new layer of deception. Each new technique of deception required a new layer of suspicion to catch it. The brain that won this race is the brain you have in your head right now. But the first lie happened before all of that. It happened the very first time one ancient human, sitting around a fire, with a small piece of meat hidden behind their back, looked at another human and said, with their mouth or with their hands, "I don't have any." That was the moment. That was the day human thought stopped being just the world and started being two worlds at once, the real one and the one you put inside someone else's head. But here's what's stranger. Lying may be what made you a person at all. In 2002, psychologist Kang Lee at the University of Toronto ran a now famous study on children. He put a toy behind their backs and told them not to peek. Almost all of them peeked. Then he asked them whether they had peeked. 2-year-olds told the truth, even when they had peeked. They hadn't developed the ability to lie yet. By age 3, about half of them lied. By age 4, almost all of them did. The transition coincides exactly with the developmental stage when children pass what psychologists call the false belief test. The moment a child first understands that another person can hold a belief about the world that is different from reality. That moment is the birth of a real person. Before that, a child sees the world and assumes everyone else sees it the same way. After that, a child understands that other minds exist, that those minds can be wrong, and that those minds can be made to be wrong on purpose. Lying is the first proof that you have understood another human being. And the first time you ever did it, somewhere around your 4th birthday, you were rerunning, in fast forward, the most important transition in the history of your species. And here is the part nobody talks about. We don't just lie to other people, we lie to ourselves. In 2011, evolutionary biologist Robert Trivers published a book called The Folly of Fools, summarizing decades of his own research. His thesis was that self-deception evolved alongside deception for a specific reason. The best liars are the ones who believe their own lies. A nervous liar gives off cues, micro-expressions, tone shifts, hesitations. A liar who genuinely believes the false version of reality gives off none of those cues. So evolution favored brains that could quietly delete inconvenient truths from their own awareness in order to lie more convincingly to others. This is why you forget embarrassing details about yourself. Why you remember arguments in a way that flatters you. Why your version of events is almost never the same as anyone else's. The brain that learned to lie to other people learned, at the same time, to lie to itself. And here is what almost nobody understands. The first person who ever lied was not a villain. They were the first person who could imagine being someone else. That ability, to step out of your own head and into a stranger's, to model their thoughts so completely that you could insert false information into them, became the foundation of every distinctly human thing we do. Storytelling is a kind of lying. Fiction is a long, beautiful, agreed-upon lie. Empathy is the same machinery used kindly. Persuasion is the same machinery used socially. Love, when it tells someone they are the most important person in the world, runs on the same circuit that allows a politician to tell a crowd what they want to hear. Without that first lie, none of it exists. There is no story. There is no novel. There is no kindness that protects someone from a truth they aren't ready to hear. There is no surprise birthday party. There is no, "I'm fine," said to keep a friend from worrying. There is no civilization because there is no trust, because there is nothing to trust against. The first lie didn't break the world. It opened it. Tonight, when you tell someone you're doing okay when you aren't, or laugh at a joke that wasn't funny, or quietly let a story go uncorrected, remember that you are doing the oldest distinctly human thing there is. Somewhere, tens of thousands of years ago, one person looked at another and said something that wasn't true. You inherited their brain, and so did everyone you've ever loved.